Hey, hi, I'm Gaz, and it's been a while. When I was little, Star Wars was so intriguing to me. I didn't understand how Episode 4 was released before Episode 1. I wanted to watch Episode 1 so badly, but my parents insisted on Episode 4 because of the release order, so I basically refused to watch it. It made me saw Star Wars for the first time through LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga video game on the DS, which I played a lot as a kid. I later on watched the prequels and the original, and I loved them a lot. They were stories about letting go of your pain, perseverance, and most of all, growth. Star Wars to me will always be about growth. In 2015, Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens was released, and I loved it. It was everything I wanted in a Star Wars movie. It was funny, its characters were great, its lightsaber duel was good, but I forced myself to not enjoy it because of everyone else around me didn't like it. When The Last Jedi released, I loved it. It's a movie that changed my life and had a prolonged impact on me as a human being. But once again, I forced myself to hate it because everyone else hated it. When The Rise of Skywalker released, I loved it. Its trio was great, C-3PO was hilarious, the lightsaber duel was my favorite in the saga, and Palpatine's return was certainly a decision. I forced myself to hate it because of the onslaught of hate it was getting, and to be honest, probably not my favorite. A lot of weird decisions in that movie, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Star Wars teaches us to love, but all I see is hate. When The Mandalorian came out, I thought it was pretty good. Haha, funny, baby Yoda, but when Season 2 came out with the return of Boba Fett, I wanted to dive in more into Star Wars. So I watched the Clone Wars and Rebels. I'm still getting through Resistance, but what I've seen hasn't been terrible. These shows fundamentally changed how I viewed Star Wars. These characters, this world, it was a dream. Expanded on so many things that I loved, and new additions I haven't seen before, such as the Mortis Gods, Inquisitors, hell, Mandalorians, because I honestly prefer how they did them in the Clone Wars over the Mandalorian, even though it's a different sector of Mandalorians, because there's a bunch of different Mandalorians, but you still get the point. Darth Maul returning, Ahsoka Tano, which hell, I met the main trio at GalaxyCon and they were all wonderful. A show that truly changed me was The Bad Batch. This was a show my dad and I really got into. I loved the clones, and seeing how they were treated after the war mirrors how veterans fought after World War I to the Vietnam War, you name it. The Book of Boba Fett felt refreshing and gave the character an actual arc and personality and story, even though it was basically just a Mandalorian 2.5. Ahsoka expanded on Rebels and gave us such a refreshing sequel. Andor, man, Andor. What is there to say that hasn't already been said? Andor is a masterpiece in storytelling and a masterpiece of Star Wars. The thing about all these shows is that they were all hated. Now I can understand if someone wasn't a fan of them. Everyone has taste and I respect everyone's opinions. But what makes Star Wars different from, let's say, Marvel are the grifters. Of course, this happens to Marvel too, but you don't see it as much as Star Wars. People who just basically just rally up hate for Disney Star Wars and say how George Lucas was better if he came back, even though they hate him too. A lot of these people are bigoted and mean-spirited and try to rage bait. I mean, y'all saw the tweet about the guy who said Maul died in The Phantom Menace. Like, what are we doing? The main teaching of Star Wars was going over everyone's heads. Star Wars teaches us to love, but like I said, all I see is hate. It is an endless cycle of negativity. It's an endless cycle of hate. I would post a tweet talking about my love for the prequels, and it would get bashed. I would post a tweet about me loving the sequels, and it would get bashed. I would even post a tweet about me loving the original trilogy, and I still would get bashed. All I see is hatred, and hatred isn't Star Wars. This all came to a head in 2024 when The Acolyte released. The Acolyte is an interesting show. It gave us our first live-action look at Plagueis, which was just very, very cool, laid down the fragments for the foundation of the Knights of Ren, showed us the cracks starting to form in the Jedi, lightsaber duels that rivaled the prequels, as well as seeing a Kyber crystal bleed in live action. Like, oh my god, this show has so much cool things going for it, but it wasn't perfect. The pacing of the show was honestly not that great. The show looked cheap even though its budget was insane. $230 million is crazy for a show of only 8 episodes. Some lore decisions like the twins being conceived by manipulating the Force I found to be an interesting decision, but I ran with it. I wish the show focused a lot more on the Sith, as it was advertised as being mainly about the Sith during the era, but was instead the Jedi trying to find the Sith, with two twins switching places practically. May becoming good, and now it's becoming bad. But this show had a lot of potential. I think the positives outweighed the negatives for me, and I was very excited to see where the story would go. How Darth Plagueis would fit in, what role Yoda would have in it. hopefully seeing my goat, Yarael Poof. But then it happened. August 19th, 2024, The Acolyte was cancelled. The only Star Wars show to be cancelled was Star Wars The Clone Wars, which was eventually brought back, but this was a lot different. They say it was because of viewership, but I honestly think it was because of a certain group of people kept complaining about how most of the characters in the show were portrayed by people of color, lesbian witches, which weren't the problems of the show. People were also upset that Ki-Adi-Mundi being in the show, and saying how it breaks canon when it's revealed in the finale that the Jedi cover everything up. They also complained about his age, even though it was only stated in Legends. Now this is nothing new. Nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans after all, but this was different because of one certain reason. The grifters won. In 1977, George Lucas released Star Wars, which was supposed to be an allegory for the Vietnam War. The Empire was the United States, and the rebels were the Vietnamese. This was stated by George Lucas when he was talking with James Cameron and had an interview with him. Star Wars is based on reality, as is most fiction. In 1999, The Phantom Menace released, which dialed the political atmosphere up to 100, showing how democracy can fall into authoritarianism. While the sequel trilogy didn't dive into politics much, it's a lot more character-focused. You do see similarities. The first one that comes to my mind is Huck's speech in Force Awakens. Star Wars has always been political, or as some might say, Star Wars has always been woke. The Acolyte being cancelled killed my love for Star Wars. I was slow to getting out of it. I still kept up with it, but for the first time, I did not watch a newly released Star Wars show, which was Skeleton Crew. Disney cancelling The Acolyte to me felt like the hate finally won over love, and hate isn't Star Wars. People weren't able to grow and just decided to hate, and Star Wars is all about growth. January 15th, 2026. This is the week that changed everything. Kathleen Kennedy retired from Lucasfilm. Dave Filoni stepped in as the new president will be handling creative decisions, with Lin-Wen Brennan, probably butchering that name, stepped in as co-president and will be handling all the non-creative decisions. The reason why this day resonated with me was because the haters didn't win. Kathleen Kennedy wasn't fired, she left on her own accord. The reason why she left we don't know exactly, but we know she's still working at Lucasfilm as a full-time producer. If her contract was up, or if she was fired, she still wouldn't be working there. I don't know why, but ever since this day, my love for Star Wars has been reignited. Because for the first time since I left the fandom, the Jedi beat the Sith, rebellion beat the Empire, good beat evil. I find that extremely touching. I went back and watched Skeleton Crew and actually thought it was fine. Not that special to me, but it was a fun watch. So, how did I learn to love Star Wars again? That's the title of this video, and you've been watching it the entire time. How do you love Star Wars again? Simple. Hope. Think about what's going on in the world right now. ICE is murdering citizens, the US is possibly going to invade Greenland. It seems so hopeless right now, but Star Wars teaches us hope. The reason why I fell in love with Star Wars again is because of hope. How I hope the world gets to be a better place, and how Star Wars makes you feel hopeful. Kathleen Kennedy retiring on her own terms gives me hopes that these grifters will not win. These grifters have been a plague on the Star Wars fandom for a while, but hope. That hope makes me feel like I can love Star Wars again. Yeah, I'm back. I really hope that answer was very satisfying to you. If it wasn't, I get it. This was mainly just to dump my thoughts on why I left the fandom and why I'm back. But yeah, I'm back doing Star Wars content. I know I only had literally 5 videos before I kind of just dipped. But I'm going to try to double that. And I'm also going to try to do more stuff when it comes to lore. Just talk about anything Star Wars more than video essays. So it's going to be very experimental for right now. But yeah, posting on Twitter again. The Third Order podcast, which I had, I don't think it's coming back. I'd like to redo it, but I highly doubt that is going to happen in the future. But yeah, I'm kind of just doing content. If you have any ideas for what I should do, go and comment down below. And I'm excited to be back. So yeah, see y'all, or whatever the whatever port.